and welcome to the Pop Culture Podcast. I'm Danny, and today I'm joined by Becky.
Hello.
Jess.
Hi.
Brie.
Hey.
And Ben.
Hi.
Today we'll be looking at queer representation in popular culture. And I just want to start this out with, what is queer representation? So queer representation is when queer characters appear or for us, in popular culture. And proper representation helps combat stereotypes and ignorance. Okay, so to start this off, what is everyone's earliest recognition of queer representation in popular culture?
I feel like I'm doing a test. I'm happy to start with that one. My earliest time I noticed queer representation was when I was quite young. The show on ABC show Dance Academy, the character Sammy. I think some people know him. He was one of my favorite characters, and I remember being so upset. It's been ages. It's been years. Okay, he dies.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. He dies, but later on. But he was a gay dancer, and there was I remember that being part of his story. But I think it was his family accepting him doing dance as well. And I remember his coming out as gay.
Was that on ABC3?
Yeah, ABC3 back in the day. Yeah.
Because I watched that, but I actually don't recall. I knew he was gay, but I didn't see him come out.
Yeah, there was a scene where he came out because I remember one of the other characters, Abigail, had a huge crush on him, and I think tried to go out with him, and they tried going out together, and he was like, "No, I can't do this."
Not for me.
Not for me, yeah. And then in a later season, he had a boyfriend, and I remember that being I just remember seeing oh, okay, that's different. Yeah.
When was that? 2012?
It started in 2010.
Okay.
That was the first season, so it would have been a few years after that, probably.
That's quite early, though. That would have been quite controversial, potentially.
Well,
maybe.
I think it's
I'm
a
not
dancing
sure.
show. And I feel like that's not necessarily. I feel like there is a bit of a stereotype with with male dancers being gay or male theatre people being gay. So it probably didn't have too controversial. I don't know much about if there was controversy around it, but because I don't remember that. Yeah.
Sure. What about you, Ben?
Oh, I don't know when my introduction was to queer representation, but one of my early ones, this isn't exactly queer, but there was an anime on ABC called Oran High School Host Club, which I think we've talked about on the podcast before, which did a lot of this thing called queer baiting. I'm not sure. I think a lot of people are aware of what the term means, but if you're not, it is basically when a show alludes to characters being queer, but never explicitly says that they are, and it's kind of just there to get a lot of women enjoy that in Japan, I think. So that's kind of a stereotype called boys love or something like that. But at the time, I didn't really know what was going on. So
Yeah. For me, when I saw that a lot in on ABC3 quite a bit as well. And I was honestly at that age, and my parents didn't talk about the queer community that much. I'm not even sure if they had an idea of it. But it honestly just confused me. I wasn't too sure what was going on.
Yeah, boys can like boys? Is that allowed?
That's illegal.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess when you don't know that that's a thing, you're like, this is different. What is this? Especially if you haven't been given a vocabulary for it.
I think a lot of that might have happened a lot on ABC and when we were growing up, because people were still very afraid to kind of put out people in media, because it was still in the realm of taboo, kind of. We don't know if people are going to vibe with this if we put it out there. But
Yeah.
I think we've definitely seen an increase over the past decade or so of
Oh,
like,
yeah,
especially in children's programs, like showing queer characters.
Yeah.
And it's made its way into like Marvel, and I'm not sure about the DC universe that much. But I know like in Loki, the director really wanted to make sure that Loki was seen to be bisexual. Although, in my opinion, they did one scene and then it wasn't followed up on at all.
Yeah, I've actually
Didn't-
got a bit of an opinion on that whole Loki situation. I'm not entirely sure whether I agree with how they handled it, because it seems like what they did, which is what a lot of shows and media does, is kind of put it in the background. I think there was one document or something that alluded to him being non-binary or something of the sort. But they kind of just put it in the background and it was hidden so they could say, look, we've got a queer character, but they didn't really show, like, they're not really giving him any representation as a queer character. They're just kind of placing the little nugget in there for that community to find and obsess over.
Yeah.
It's like they're doing the bare minimum.
I find it interesting how when, like, the olden days of TV and movies is that obviously there were whole stereotype, like the idea of homosexuality and things like that being quite taboo. So there's always, like, if you look at older films, especially during like golden age of Hollywood, it's a lot of very subtle things meant to hint that a character is queer. That like people within the community would pick up, but not explicit enough that higher ups would notice. Which I find interesting. So they were trying to, where they're like, back then it was like trying to get as much as they could without the directors getting and like noticing. Whereas nowadays, we're seeing more of a community, companies trying to be like, yeah, we're so inclusive. Look at all these characters, but then show nothing. So it's like almost like a complete 180.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
which
like
I find quite interesting.
Now they kind of have an obligation to outwardly say it rather than being sneaky about it.
Yeah.
But I think like companies like Disney still are very
But they have a long way to go.
Yeah. They're very aware of like their more conservative audiences who would not enjoy that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jess, how about you? When did you get your start?
Well, like, this is the thing I've been thinking about for, like, the last few minutes as you guys have been talking, is like, because I can't, like, place a single coherent, like, point. Like I can't remember what, like, my earliest piece of, like, queer representation in media I remember seeing is, like...
There's a lot, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot to go through. But also, you got to remember, like, this is back when I was straight boy. Straight boy.
Air quotes.
And so, yeah, air quotes on all of that. Turns out I was wrong. But anyway, like, so... It's like, I was doing this thing where it's like... In hindsight, it's like, I was being drawn to, like, queer representations. But also, like... I was hiding it, and so but also, like, I don't remember what the earliest representation of a trans person I ever saw was. And I think, honestly, it was, like, quite late. Like, that's partially why it took me so long to figure it out. Like...
For me, when I saw, the first thing I saw about trans people was social media giving a really bad rep of them, and it was quite bad. It was always representing them as, I guess, like they wanted to represent them as crazy or something else and not accepted.
Yeah, like delusioned.
Yeah, but now on TikTok and such, it's pretty good actually, and there's a lot of, well, maybe it's just the sphere of influence and the side of TikTok that I'm on, but it seems...
Are you on trans TikTok as well?
I'm not on trans TikTok, but I think I'm like on the edge of it.
Okay,
yeah. But it's quite good, and there's some good information on it.
Yeah, like, you ask questions like, what's your first experience with queer representation is like, I have been thinking about that again for like minutes now, and I can't think of any. Like, the latest stuff would have been like in my later teens when like I secretly like started like, oh, that show has lesbians on it, I'm gonna watch it.
What was one of the most influential ones might be a better question then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's difficult to say because like, yeah, it is again, it is very difficult to say because like I don't know. Like, again, I'm even struggling to think of what the earliest one is. Like, because like I can think of once. It's like, all right.
Isn't there a trans woman on YouTube that does like philosophy?
Yeah, but the
Philosophy
thing is,
tube.
but
Yeah.
she only
She came
came
out
out
quite
as
recently.
trans literally
okay.
in January.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been watching her for a while, but I've only been watching her since I've been out. Yeah, like a lot of, because again, like a lot of, before I was open and like out, I was watching a lot of this stuff just like subtly. Like, I was just like, oh no one can see me watching this. No one can know that like the reason I watched Bride and Prejudice was because there was a lesbian couple on it. No one can know that. Like, that's secret. I'm good little straight boy. I don't do that. And then I was like, that's why I was drawn to that shit. Oh, okay. That explains it.
That's the thing. If you don't know it exists, you don't understand like how you feel
Yeah.
about something, and there's
Yeah,
no words
yeah.
behind it unless you're given like a word
Yeah.
for that.
That's like,
Yeah.
that's like the thing, like, the reason I only ended up coming out as trans, like, literally when I was 22, was because I only really was, like, properly exposed to, like, what being transgender is when I was, like, already an adult. So, like, yeah, and then eventually stuff clicked. It's like, okay, I just didn't...
You weren't aware of it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that representation does. But it's like, it's also something that's gotten better, because, like, now I can find a lot of representation, like, and that's why, like, I know a lot of stuff that, like, oh, what's queer representation you saw that you, like, vibe with, and it's like, I know a lot of that stuff, like, but it's all stuff that I've been watching, like, in the last few years. Like, nothing before that really comes to mind. That's a long, rambling answer.
I think I feel similarly. I think a lot of media is doing it now, but I think that's part of it is it's a trend, and part of it is people are genuinely being more accepting, and people are growing up with this, being surrounded by this, so it's more natural to a lot of people, and it makes sense to push this kind of this image because it is what people are used to now. Like, there's not this fear surrounding it. So I think that's a lot of why it's happening now, more so than in the past.
Obviously, there are some that are like still not very represented, like asexuality. Like, that's only really quite recent that it's been considered anything other than someone just being a prude and not wanting to have sex. Like with BoJack Horseman, the character of Todd. I remember that was the first time I knew about it because of social media, but it was the first time that it had been, a character has been explicitly stated as it, and it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that it just explained more about who they were.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that much, but BoJack Horseman did that quite well, because
It's so
it was made obvious that, what was his name? I watched it
Todd.
ages ago. That Todd was ace,
Todd.
but it was
Sorry.
made obvious that Todd was ace, but it wasn't like a big deal, and it was treated how I guess these matters should be treated. Like, it's not blown out of proportion. It's just like, this is a thing, this is part of someone, and then they moved on with the story.
And he didn't end up with someone in the end that like cured him of it or anything. They like kept it consistent.
Yeah.
That is something I wanted to bring up as well, Danny. Like, how people handle queer representation in media. Like, whether they, like you said, blow it out of proportion, make a huge deal about it, like, write an explanation of what this thing means into the script, like, treating the audiences like they're dummies, or whether they just kind of have it there, like it just exists in this world because it is a normal thing, and they don't like poke into it and like say, wow, this person's insanely different from everyone else. They like, that's something that BoJack Horseman did really well. Like, they don't do that othering. They really just say, you're a person.
Yeah, and I can see how, like, if you don't find the balance between explaining it and getting on with the story, if you mean well and you want to like educate people, but then you go on to explain it too much, it can still ostracize, I think's the word, to ostracize like that character aside from everyone else.
Yeah, that's definitely the other side of it. Like, a lot of people straight up just won't be familiar with a lot of these terms, so in some cases you might need to, like, I'm saying baby in air quotes, but
Yeah.
like baby the audience, like explain it in layman's terms. But it's
Yeah,
finding that balance, I guess.
I think that often comes with just that character explaining to another character, like if they're confused, like explaining it to them, like coming out or something. But
Yeah,
if it's done well, it's really well done. Like it's really good.
because in the past, gay people would have been just used as the butt of jokes, and that's kind of
Yeah.
it. Like in
The gay best friend.
Friends is one example where it's not great. Like
Yeah,
watching
it
it back,
didn't age well.
there's a lot of whoopsie doos in terms of queer representation, like trans people,
Yeah.
gay
Yeah.
people.
Trans people are very often the butt of the joke in a lot of old shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like
Particularly trans women.
all like
Yes.
all are like literally. It's not even just about the joke. It's also like, oh, this villain, this like
Oh.
bad
There's-
person.
There
yeah.
is a lot of what you find in the media, not just in TV, but also like video games I've heard of as well, is that a lot of the time they would have like the villains queer coded. So acting like a certain something other than heterosexual and cisgender, but setting it in a way that that's what's like, it's that deviance that adds to their being evil. And so there was like Ursula from Little Mermaid was heavily based off a drag queen, because it was meant to just and
I
that
didn't
was
even think about that.
yeah, that was used to try and continue to alienate her and make her seem more creepy and different, because it was seen as, yes, it was coded
that
to be
taboo.
like that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But Becky, we've not even asked you where you got your start.
Yeah.
Can you
So,
give us your
yeah, so my situation is pretty similar to Jess's in that I don't really remember my kind of first queer representation. Probably the oldest queer representation in anything I remember is like posters in high school. Talking about like gay and bi people. But like I can talk about some of like the most influential and like largest
Yeah, go for it.
representation I remember, and I mean also mentioning Todd and BoJack Horseman is interesting, as well as representation of gay people in BoJack Horseman as well. With character I can't remember the name of. But
I think there are a
also
few.
I think
Herb was.
anyway, She-Ra I think is a very big representation in my mind of queer characters.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially with that thing that we were talking about, where they treat it just totally normally. Like, they don't poke into it or do anything crazy. It's straight up just there. It's as normal as anything else. Probably like half the characters in the show are queer.
Yeah.
But also they don't make it like queer is better than straight or anything like that. They're
Yeah.
very much all like on the same level. It's good vibes all round. But there's definitely that whole there is a little bit of rainbows and happiness and everything's great in the queer community. I do get a bit of that vibe, but no, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Has anyone else seen She-Ra?
Yeah,
I've
so
seen
good.
the first season. I need to watch more. I watched the first season because Becky recommended it, and I was like, okay, I should actually get around to watching this.
It's
It's
a
very
really
wholesome.
good show.
Oh yeah.
It's
Like-
very great.
I feel like there's also, honestly, I feel like there's a bit of an elephant in the room that hasn't been mentioned in terms of like how we're talking about queer representation. Like, all of us are white. That is something. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, a lot like, and like actually like I think of like a lot of the queer characters I think about is like they're mostly white. Like
Yes.
they're fairly of. And so, therefore, like, the idea that, like, this is some great leap of representation is, like, it's better, but it's not, like, it's not the be-all and end-all, like,
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By no means.
yeah, so, like, I just wanted to put that out there, just, like,
Yeah, no,
just-
Yeah,
no,
that's-
it's a valid
Yeah.
point for sure.
yeah, because bouncing around, it's
definitely.
like, I need to mention this, because otherwise this is going to be, like, a very,
Yeah.
like,
I think Sex Ed touches on that. The show, Sex Education.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Um,
I think that was inevitable. It was going to be brought up in this podcast,
Yeah.
given
Yeah.
the recent season,
Watch season
which I still
3.
haven't seen. My goodness.
Uh-oh.
Can we spoil it? If we accidentally spoil
Do-
anything here,
You better not.
we'll try
oh
not
boy.
to.
Mm,
But yeah, I think that show does well in terms of a diverse cast in terms of race, but also race within the LGBTQ plus community, because I feel like that often gets forgotten. That there can be those overlapping minorities. So yeah, as much as we praise some of the representation we've been made, there definitely is still an overall image of like the gay character as a gay white man, cisgender as
Yeah.
well, and so there's always progress that can be made to continue to diversify it, but like considering how
is-
far we've come in the last 10 years is incredible.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's nuts. That is something I also would like to touch on, like the possibility that queer representation could, in certain cases, be like regressive, like by representing gay people, for instance, as having all of these stereotypical traits, like all gay people are flamboyant and they all have like long hair and they all wear like XYZ kind of
Yeah.
clothing, you know?
Like feminine
Leaning on-
mannerisms.
yeah.
Yeah.
Leaning on stereotypes of various queer identities.
That's that's why I thought in the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Ray Holt being a gay black man, like that is part of his story in terms of it's taken him longer to get captain. He cares more like about like making sure things are done by the rules, and he has high standards because it's taking him so long to get to where he is. But like he's not flamboyant. He's very monotone. Like
Oh yeah.
he doesn't do the stereotypical like mannerisms and acts that a gay person would do, but he has a flag in
Quite
his
the
pen
opposite.
cup. Yeah, and I kind of like that because it shows that like yeah, it's a big part of his character, and it comes into the story sometimes, but it's still like he doesn't fit the traditional stereotypes in that
Yeah,
sense.
like you can be gay, but you don't need to like be gay. Like you don't need to act gay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to,
you don't need to fit
like
that, like,
guys
old
if
stereotype,
you're a
yeah.
guy
Yeah.
or if you're
Yeah.
a woman and then like women.
Yeah, I feel like it's like that's a thing. Yeah, that comes a lot. Is like doing representation only in one way. It's like, I think it's literally something the Philosophy Tube said is like, coming out video. It's like, it's basically, it presents it like as there's only one way to be gay or to be trans or like, because like I remember literally like, you think of pretty much all representation of trans women, they're all attracted to men. They're all like this. They're all very feminine. They're all like, it's like, oh, I wore my mum's high heels when I was like 3. It's like, that's not my experience. Like, I'm not attracted. I'm like very much only attracted to women. Like, I'm not that feminine. Like, I mean, I'm not. But like,
Definitely.
yeah. So like, again, I think that sort of representation where like it doesn't do its job. It's like, because it presents it like as, okay, there's only this way is the only way to be this thing, and so therefore anyone who doesn't like fit into that mold is like, oh, I guess I'm not then. Like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, like there's also that stereotype with like bisexual, pansexual, omnisexual, like basically anyone who's attracted to more than one gender. There's that stereotype that they're hypersexual, or they sleep around, or they're polyamorous, so in lots of relationships. And that's the thing. A lot of media would show them like being quite like sexualized.
Horny.
Yes, but it's
Yeah.
particularly bisexual women, like because that was like the only bisexual representation there was. Yeah, it was very much over sexualized and seen for like the male audience, which is a
And
whole other
similarly
conversation
with,
in itself.
Similarly with gay women, and in like certain media industries, I don't know how explicit we're allowed to be on this podcast, but certain adult movies do a similar thing, and they really push this narrative of like, if you're a woman who likes women, you better get a guy in there, because what the hell, it's got to be a little bit straight, right? Right,
Yeah,
guys?
and like that assumption that they're doing it to please men,
And
or like to get
they're doing
men's
it for
attention.
men, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
or like it's
super
sexy
regressive.
when two girls kiss. Sorry.
Cook.
I mean, it is sexy when girls
Guys.
cook, you know.
But yeah,
Food is
okay.
good.
I saw
sorry,
some girls cooking the other day.
So,
Ooh.
like
Ooh.
two girls kiss or something. It's like that stereotype that like it's hot for men.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I think we're definitely being like, yeah, that's a bit messed up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's still there, which I feel like we've got a lot of work to do. A lot of
Oh yeah.
we've got still
yeah.
ways to go.
We're also speaking from quite a privileged position. Like
That's true.
we live in a very like developed country, where we have access to all this technology. So like we come from a very privileged position when talking about like the representation and all that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Sure. With
Yeah.
bisexuality and pansexual stuff, I have a point that almost goes against what you said, but definitely doesn't disprove it. Deadpool was actually pansexual / bisexual. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they fall under each other, but I didn't think that was done very well in the film. I'm not sure it needed to be in it, but the relationship he had was very straight.
But okay, because then it's like, all right, but then we're falling into the trap of like, okay, do bi or pan people have to like be in a queer relationship for it? Like, because like a bi and a like
That's true,
Deadpool
they
being in a loving relationship with a woman is still pan. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And also, I think it's just another thing of Marvel comics. There's a lot of queer representation within them. I don't know enough about them to like give too many specifics, but there's a lot of queer representation, but some of it is quite stereotypical in comics. But a lot of that is missed in Marvel, like in Marvel movies, because it's got a wider audience, and there needs to be able to be seen by a lot of countries with their censorship laws.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose the reason I brought that up is because if you wanted to be educational and sort of try and better society, and you're creating a movie and you have a bisexual character, or pansexual, it can be helpful to like hint at it even, or just give something to try and normalize it a bit better. It doesn't need to be in there at all, but it can be useful if you're trying to educate people.
I guess the only thing that you could argue does fall under that with Deadpool is just that like he's quite horny and quite sexualized anyway. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
Like, I remember literally one scene where he gropes Colossus's ass. And, like... But also, Deadpool 2
So maybe they
re-
did. Maybe I
But then
just missed
also-
it.
That's another thing I
Yeah.
remember. Deadpool 2 had representation in Teenage Warhead and Yukio, who were just like
Yeah.
they're just a lesbian couple. Fun fact: Yukio's actor is played by like a Japanese actor who was actually born in Brisbane.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah.
she speaks with like an English with like an odd accent, like a slightly Australian accent, which because that's where she grew up. Anyway, but that's
Watch
also
it again.
yeah, it's good. I mean, it's generally good. Deadpool's a good movie, but we could talk about Deadpool for. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah. So I don't
There
know
was
why I said-
also in sorry, I feel like so I've done a bit of research and I feel like everything I've done looks at like the bi agenda and like
Go
trying to
for
get
it.
more bi people out there. So because I've already talked about Loki, but also in Ragnarok, one of the characters, I think after the movie they confirmed she was bisexual,
Yeah,
which was
Valkyrie-
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie is
Yeah.
bi. The next Thor movie is gonna like is explicitly doing that. Like she's looking for a wife basically to be because she's, but also like, isn't it the thing where like Taika Waititi, who was the director, he did write in like, and there was filmed a scene that like basically explicitly confirmed that, where it's like, oh, there's like a woman leaving her apartment, but like that was cut out of the final. That didn't make the final cut.
Damn it.
Didn't know
But it's
that.
like, yeah, that's another
Yeah.
thing. Where it's like,
Some things just get cut out of movies.
Yeah.
yeah, but then also it's like, okay, but then you also have to ask like, all right, is that a case of like creative like visions clashing with like people like, no, we need this to like sell in more markets, and so
Yeah.
it's
never
all
really know.
yeah.
That's definitely a tricky position, like whether or not to have it minimal to make it normalized, or have it more in your face to have it actually represent that community. Like you've got to find a balance, kind of, because Star Wars is one movie
Yeah.
that comes to mind. I forget which one. I think it was the last one in the new trilogy, where they have just like two women kissing for like 1 second, and it's like queer representation in Star Wars. Wow, it's crazy. And then there was also like lots of queer baiting.
Yeah, and a scene that can very easily be cut out for foreign releases, which it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't say that that's good queer representation. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's queer representation, which is good as a general thing, but you've got to do it right and like
Was it-
not kind of
Yeah.
brush over it.
Was it related to the story at all, or is it
No.
literally
No.
just
No.
like
No,
okay,
no,
Two
it's literally just
random
back.
characters.
It is literally just the background thing. Like again,
I
For
think
like
the thing
1
is-
second.
Yeah, I think the thing is to have good representation is to have a variety of
Yeah.
representation where maybe like you're dealing like I think sex education was good at this is that for example the two characters of Ola and Adam, like in the second season they begin to have a bit of a friendship. Ola comes to terms says that she's pansexual and kind of comes to terms with that reasonably quickly. Whereas Adam, dealing with his bisexuality, that took him a lot longer to figure out. And I think the important thing is that there is not one way to figure it out or one way to show certain characters. And to have a good representation is to not just like hinge all your representation on one character, but to have a variety of representation with a variety of ways that can happen, and the ways that it impacts people's character.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. It's like almost as if there's a blueprint at this point of like this is to have queer representation you need to hit this and this mark, and I feel like it excludes so much of what it is to be queer and in the queer community, because it's so multifaceted, and it can't be just like defined as these few points.
At the same time, I think like a really broad guideline to help, like if somebody is producing a movie and they want to help educate or normalize things, then there should be like something they aim to hit. So it's not like Star Wars just throwing in a random kiss scene. It should be actually like it tells them it needs to be related to the story or helpful to the movie. You know, broad things like that that just make sure that it's actually put in. And if you do it that way as well, then they have to put in more work. They can't just throw in that random kiss scene. They have to integrate it into the plot of it somehow, so it's actually relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like it's like the kind of thing about like that kiss scene at the end of the Rise of the Skywalker, which I mean that whole movie is just whatever. Like a kiss scene like a scene like that works like is like as like not just like, oh, you're just throwing this into like to just like to tick that box, but it's like, okay, you're like that works in like in a like in a world, or no, not even like in like a story that is like more representative like in general. Like if that's not literally the only representation of queer characters in your entire movie, then like it's okay. But it's like if that is literally the only one, which it practically was, then it's like that's not great.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think that's good to have just people who are just queer, like just because they exist in the world. I think a lot of, like you guys have been saying, that it should have something to do with the plot, which I do agree with, but also it can be just a background fact.
yeah.
But
definitely.
so
What I
long
meant-
as they don't
yeah.
just like plop it in for the sake of plopping it in, like if
Yeah.
it maybe has something to do with character development, or like they might mention it a couple times over the course of the movie, so it's not just like this is the queer part of the movie. Like if it's a continuous kind of factor, even if it doesn't like drive the story.
Yeah, it can certainly be something that's not a main thing if it's just like on the side. But yeah, I meant exactly what you said, which is it's not just thrown in. It should be something in there. Like if someone is in a gay relationship, then it can be like casually mentioned. It's just like, oh, she has a wife, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is have queer representation, but don't talk about it, but also do talk about it a bit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, like okay, there can be stories where that's the focus, and like I like them, and I think they're good, and I think there should be more. I want stories about trans lesbians who have fulfilling relationships with cis partners. That's a very specific thing to me. I just like that, and there's not enough of that anyway.
Yeah.
But then there's also there's like two sorts. Like there's sort of the story where it's like, okay, main character's queer, and like maybe it's like their coming out story, and that stuff. It's like, yeah, it's maybe a bit overblown, and like sometimes it's like overdone, but like it is valuable. Like it is valid as like a story idea, but also, I guess then you have the stories where it's just like, all right, this is like a world where like there's not like one single main character. There's like side characters
It's
and
an
stuff,
ensemble.
and just it's literally just like okay, some of them are gay.
Yeah. Like,
And it's not like a massive thing. It's like, I feel like, Blind Spot is a show that does that very well. The Expanse is another show that does that quite well. Like, a lot of things where it's just like, and again, that's something that's been happening more recently, where it's just good.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
one of the reasons I liked Orange is the New Black, is because it kind of is, the idea is to showcase that it's like, sexuality can be quite fluid. Like with Piper, the main character, like stating like that she's bisexual and all that, but also some people being like, oh, it's just a phase, all that, but then be like, no. So like there's like, it's like, no, I am bisexual, but like showing that it's different for each person as well. And also that movie got a lot of appreciation for actually having a trans woman played by a trans woman.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's another thing that we could talk about is like people, like queer representation not being played by that queer, like a queer character.
Yeah.
Which I think has been definitely something that's more nowadays very much appreciated, especially I think we're dealing with people that are transgender as part of their story or as just their character by actually being played by a transgender person.
That's
yeah,
its whole
particularly.
own debate.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
so much to talk
Yeah.
about.
We
we
don't
go
want
into
another.
that.
We don't. Yeah, we don't want another Eddie Redmayne getting like an Oscar for playing a trans woman. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
Like,
I
I
don't
love him
care
as an
if you're-
actor, but
I don't
yeah.
care if you're good at it and like you look somewhat feminine. It's like there are trans women actors out there. There are like they exist. There are quite a few of them
Yeah.
around these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we? We're just hitting, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes. Do we want to move
Yeah.
on to the game show? I believe Ben had something prepared.
Ben, are you ready for the game show?
Oh, what you said? Queen.
I'm
The
expecting you to
Sure.
put in the jingle behind me there.
Yeah.
Jess, the more you ask for it, the more I'm gonna put in weird Halo sounds and shit like that.
Oh, I know. But the thing is, this is the queer episode. What queer noise are you going to put in behind? Just someone
Oh,
saying
boy.
"Yas, Queen"?
Just X little Nas X in the background.
Ooh. Now we're getting. Am I gonna fuck up queer representation? We'll see. Yes, I've got a little game set up for you guys. It's similar to what I've done in the past with it's a Netflix trivia. So I've gotten plot synopsises, like the Netflix descriptions of a bunch of movies and TV shows this time, all from Netflix. And it's up to you guys to buzz in with your names after I've read the questions. That is, don't be premature here, and tell me what the synopsis is describing, what film or TV show. So
Just can I make sure, because this is something that I learned from having done 2 of these quizzes. Do you have a piece of paper to mark down scores on? Because
I do
otherwise
have
it gets
a piece of paper.
yeah. Otherwise it gets confusing to figure out.
Yep. So I will be keeping track. Each question is 1 point. There's, I think, 12 questions. We might not get through them all, but we'll give it our good old crack. So without further ado, let's get into it. So question number 1. Desperate to reveal each other's secrets, 2 rival magicians begin to perform increasingly risky tricks, which soon turn deadly.
Oh, I have no idea.
Nobody knows it. I'm guessing this is an anime.
I will say it isn't an anime,
Oh.
and it is a film.
Oh.
Are they actual magicians, or is that like...
They are actual magicians. I'll give you some hints, and if maybe none of you have just seen the film, but
Yeah.
it stars Hugh Jackman. It's set in the past. Nikola Tesla is there. Ooh, okay. So if anyone at home has seen the movie, they'll know what it is by now. The film, it was The Prestige, which I thought was
I remember that name.
really widely known film. It also has Michael Caine, all-star cast.
You also need to remember that we're not normal people. We're a bunch of weird nerds who spend our time on the internet.
Yeah.
We don't watch
This is
like
true.
big popular films.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
maybe
not
this
wrong.
next one is more you guys' speed. This 3D motion capture adapts George Ramey's classic comic strip about the adventures of a fearless young journalist and his trusty dog.
Jess,
Jess, go for
it's
it.
The Adventures of Tintin.
Hell yeah, it is.
I haven't watched the film, but I read Tintin a lot when I was a kid, and I watched the TV adaptations. I need to watch that. There's a lot of things I need to watch.
It's a really good movie. I would highly recommend, and I would also recommend the TV show that they did. All in all, great stuff. So that's 1 point to Jess. Next one is, bored with killing animals, this 17-year-old is busy plotting his first real murder when a brash new girl catches him off guard at school. Brie,
Brie.
I would love you to wait until I finish the question.
I'm so
It's
sorry.
chill.
I thought that was the end. I'm sorry. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
go
I
for
know
it.
this show. I've watched this show. I'm
I
trying to
do
remember
too,
what it's
but
called.
I don't know the name.
Can you give character names?
I know who.
I
know.
could if
oh
I
my
knew
gosh.
them, but
Oh no, maybe Brie will know character names.
Oh.
Is
Get
it-
the answer.
It's like a phrase.
Mm.
Oh,
Gotta
the
wait until Brie gives.
Wait.
the
Everything
answer.
is okay. Sorry, I'll give it to someone else. Sorry, I can't remember the name. Someone else
No
can
one's
go.
buzzed in yet. Gotta wait for another
Danny.
buzz. Go for it, Danny.
It's something about the end of the world, I think.
Mm.
No, different one.
Mm.
I
Oh no,
can't
Brie,
remember.
Brie.
You know what?
Go.
Oh.
Brie. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, wait,
Go
Brie,
for it.
say it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of the fucking world.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is the end of the fucking world. I feel inclined to maybe
Give it to
split the
Danny.
point or
Yeah,
give it
split
to
it.
Danny.
Oh, you
No,
can give it
might
to Danny.
split
You
it.
basically got it.
I
Okay.
will split it. Just because Brie was able to get the entire title.
Feel free to censor it.
So-
I don't know what you can play in the
End of
podcast.
the beep
I think we're
world.
chill. I
Yeah.
think it is censored, the actual title.
Oh. Oops.
So we're just extra naughty today.
So you're just reading into what they wrote. They could have write best in the
Freaking
could've
world.
been-
in the freaking
Flipping.
world.
It could have been fancy.
Best in the farming world.
It probably was best in the farm.
What was the actual title again? I've forgotten.
Right? Agriculture.
Anyway.
Shit's
Yeah.
wild. All right.
Alright,
Let's
next
move
question
on.
then.
A mysterious game sends two brothers flying into space where they must reach a specific planet or be trapped in galactic limbo forever.
Becky.
Yep.
Oh, I know it. I just can't remember the name.
Uh-huh.
It's like in the same series as Jumanji.
Yeah.
Does it start
with
a
you
Z?
know it.
It
I'm
definitely
waiting
starts with a Z.
I'm waiting for Becky.
Oh, I know it. I don't know the name.
You can buzz in now.
Yeah.
To get your
Oh, I do
answer
not
in
remember
next
the
time.
name at all.
I don't know the movie or the name.
That was a
Becky,
weird
are you gonna
movie.
pass?
I'll pass. I can't remember the name.
Ooh. Danny, are you gonna give it
I
a
don't
crack?
know it. I don't know the name, but I know the movie.
Uh-huh. I feel like most of you will be familiar with the film, but I picked this one specifically because I thought you might have trouble with the name.
Yeah.
Isn't it like ZURS, and then it's like, I think it's something like that.
It definitely starts with a Z.
I keep thinking like Zathura or something.
Danny, you've got it. It's Zathura.
Ah,
Good
yes.
job. It's
I rem-
ZATHURA.
See,
Never heard of it.
I know how to say it, but I don't know how to spell it,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure.
It's a name
I
that
mean,
really
listen.
doesn't stick in your head.
I'm gonna accept it. You basically said it. Good enough for me.
Ding. 1 point.
Hell
for
yeah.
Danny.
We'll go to the next question now. This fearless, free-spirited character finds new friends, adventure, and magical creatures when she leaves her enchanted forest home and journeys to the city. Seems like none of you guys are on
When you-
track at all.
When
It
you
is
started that
animated,
out,
I'll say that.
when
Mhm.
you started that out, I like instantly went to Happy Tree Friends.
I will say it isn't Happy Tree Friends,
Yeah.
though.
Can we get some hints?
Leaves a forest.
Yep. It is animated. It is relatively recent, I believe. I'll keep giving hints. It is a children's animated show, or it is appropriate for children, I should say.
Brie?
Brie, yep.
Is it Shearer? I don't know, for some reason it sounds like Shearer.
Isn't
like a little bit,
She-Ra.
I don't know. No.
No.
It's on track. I'll read the thing one more time. This fearless, free-spirited character finds new friends, adventure, and magical creatures when she leaves her enchanted forest home and journeys to the city. It could be that none of
Enchanted?
you have Enchanted Forest, yes.
Oh no, I meant Enchanted, the TV series.
Oh, no.
Did you say it was a movie?
No, it is a TV show.
Okay.
I feel like maybe none of you
Yeah, I don't think we know.
I've
it.
got no
watched
idea.
it.
No.
Okay, it is the Netflix show Hilda, which is
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
I think I may have seen it, but I
Very
don't know
good.
anything about it.
I was just talking with, I forgot who I was talking to about it the other day in one of our channels, but it's very
Is that
good.
a channel Is that a channel on the Swinburne Pop Culture Club Discord server? Available now.
You know what? It is, Jess. You can go to Swinburne something at whatever.com.
Plug.
In the description.
Find us
You go-
find us on all the things.
If you go
Find us
to-
on whatever
Like-
platform you
Available at
want.
all your favorite stores.
If you go to any of our like social media, you'll see a link tree, and then in the link tree, there's a link to our Discord.
Yes.
That's
If you're
also
watching
where we
this on
record the
YouTube.
podcast.
If you want to join in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
I'm
You
always
like,
can't just
Chaos
join it.
Genesis.
There's a process, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, so that was Hilda. Unfortunately, no points, but do give it
Yeah.
a look if you're interested in animated TV shows. Next one. Inspired by comic books, this high schooler transforms himself into a masked crime fighter and becomes an internet sensation.
Jess,
I
Yep,
know this.
Jess.
is
I
it
know
Kick-Ass?
It is Kick-Ass. Very
Oh, yeah.
That is now the second movie they've guessed correctly and haven't seen.
I immediately thought of it. I was like, oh, what's the name?
It's really good. A bit old by this point, but definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. It plays on a lot of the superhero movie kind of tropes, and kind of puts that into reality. Like, what if someone actually tried to be a superhero, and also Nick Cage is there, so like, can't go wrong, right?
I only watched it recently. It's so good.
It's really good. Lots of good filming. Funny stuff. We'll go to the next question now, though. Facing the destruction of her planet's natural resources, this warrior princess rallies her people against an evil queen's rampaging army.
Becky.
Yeah, Becky?
It's not Xena Warrior Princess, is it?
Ooh, it isn't Xena Warrior Princess. Good pull, Jesus. Xena Warrior Princess is fucking... That's a throwback. Wild stuff. I'd do the Xena Warrior Princess call if I wasn't super aware of my mic peaking and people around me.
Oh.
Any ideas? I'll give some hints because it seems like you guys aren't super
Is it a TV
short.
show or movie?
It's a film and it is an anime.
I
Jess,
have no clue then.
Yeah, Jess?
is it Princess Mononoke?
Ooh, it isn't. I had that one, I think, last time in my quiz, but I will say, Jess, you're on the right track.
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen that many Ghibli films, so that's not necessarily helpful for me.
I will say it is a Ghibli movie, so if
Is it
any
the
of you are
raccoon one?
familiar, it's not the
Uh,
raccoon one. I think Pompoko? I think
Yeah,
that's what it's
Pumpo.
called.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I have not watched nearly enough Ghibli.
Alright, well, if none of you know it by this point, it is, it's called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. It's super rad. It's about, like, this princess in a post-apocalyptic world where there are these giant bugs who, like, rampage and, like, big robots. Oh, it's mad. But it's, like,
sounds
super
cool.
old school kind of... It's really good. Again, big recommend. If
Oh, yeah.
none of you have seen it. Next one now. This sci-fi anthology series explores a twisted, high-tech near future where humanity's greatest innovations and darkest instincts collide.
Becky.
Yep, Becky, go for
Black
it.
Mirror.
Yeah, it's Black Mirror.
Obviously.
Gonna say that one.
Yeah.
Very
This
good.
one?
Oh my goodness, Black Mirror is just nuts.
Yeah. I can't
So-
watch it anymore.
some-
It gives me too much anxiety.
Some real hits and some real misses in that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
If people out there aren't familiar with what an anthology series is, it's where each episode of the show is its own contained story. So you can watch any episode, pick it up anywhere in the entire series, and you'll be good to go. So if someone recommends a specific episode, you can just jump right to it.
Yeah.
We'll move on though. Traversing trippy worlds inside his simulator, this character explores existential questions about life, death, and everything in between.
Danny,
Danny?
the Midnight Gospel.
It is the Midnight Gospel. Very good. Hell yeah.
I haven't
you wanna
heard of
give
half
people
of
a-
like over half of this.
I've heard of it. I don't know much about it though.
I gotta get the points, Ben.
You need those points. Give everyone, because I know actually you've been pretty intrigued by this one for a bit. Do you want to tell people
Yes.
kind of what it's about?
So it goes on about. So first of all, it touches on meditation, and how it can help you in life, and then it moves on to other questions. So the end episode is quite interesting. It goes on about grief and mourning for other people that have passed away, and the style of it is simply a really exciting and colorful animation, and with this podcast over the top, and they sort of entwine in each other.
I've never seen anything like quite like it, honestly. It's like two different kinds of media meet in the middle to form this weird kind of, I think each episode's 20 or so minutes of just like a ramble podcast over this insanely cool animation. And it gets emotional and you might cry. I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah,
to
I cried.
Everybody.
I cried a lot.
You cry
It
every
will
Tim.
do that.
Every Tim.
Every Tim. Hell yeah, so that brings Danny to 3.5 points, which puts you in the lead.
Yes.
With, I think, 3 questions to go, though, so there is time to catch up. This Oscar-nominated animated comedy goes behind the scenes at the Surfing World Championship to get a close-up look at the inventors of surfing.
The inventors of.
Brie, yep.
Surf's Up? Like that animated
is
show?
Surf's
Oh!
Up.
Oh what?
What?
I remember there's like a story of like finding like the origins of surfing or something
Oh,
for the area.
Yep.
I didn't know.
Um,
I didn't know that's what Surf's Up was.
Until I actually looked at the synopsis, because I haven't watched it in so long, I forgot that it was like a mockumentary film.
Oh
Of,
god.
Like these penguins essentially like coming up with surfing and being the forerunners of the sport.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
wild. Also Oscar nominated, so fucking
Wow.
good for them.
Wow.
Amazing. Okay. This suave, sophisticated spy may have all the coolest gadgets, but he still has issues when it comes to dealing with his boss, who is also his mother.
Becky,
Becky.
it's Archer.
It is Archer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
Oh my gosh.
love Archer.
I haven't seen it, but it keeps being on like my recommended.
It's good. It's good.
It's so good. It's really good. It's a bit crude
Oh
and
yeah.
violent in some bits, so if you're not into that, maybe give it a miss. But it's just one of the funniest adult animated shows I've watched maybe ever.
It is.
It's the animation's super unique as well, so
There's lots of different like humor styles in it. There's a lot of Like they just slap something in it suddenly, which is my type of humor. It's like very, I don't know, something happens very suddenly, but there's also like it's
Yep.
so satirical as well.
Oh my goodness,
Um,
it's
Oh,
so satirical. Like so many inside jokes and recurring jokes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's like they've just released a new season on Netflix as well, which I haven't watched, but
God.
there's like 8 or something seasons. Insane. So there's lots of content there if you're looking for something to binge. Okay, so this is the last question, guys. I'll give you a rundown of the scores so far. So far, it's Jess on 2, Brie on 1/2 a point, Danny on 2.5 points, and Becky in the lead with 3 points.
Whoa. Unexpected.
So I can tie with Becky.
Jess can tie, Dan can win, Becky can win, Brie, you can try your hardest.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Alright,
Do all or nothing.
let's get into it. With his debts mounting and angry collectors closing in, a fast-talking New York jeweler risks everything in hopes of staying afloat and alive.
Jess,
Yep, Jess.
this is a shot in the dark. American Hustle.
Ooh. Good guess. Not right. I think you're kind of on the right track. If
Can you repeat it? The description?
Sure. With his debts mounting and angry collectors closing in, a fast-talking New York City jeweler risks everything in hopes of staying afloat and alive.
I don't have a clue.
No
Is it
idea.
Animated? It doesn't
It's
sound like it would
live action. It's a serious film. It stars a certain someone who has been in lots of movies that are generally poorly reviewed, I might say. However, this movie was very well reviewed, in contrast. I'm being a little more coy since this is the final question.
I've got nothing.
be. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
The fact that he is a jeweler heavily plays into it. It was released semi-recently on Netflix. And this is gonna give it away, but it stars Adam Sandler.
I don't think it gave it away.
Yeah, I was like,
I can only think of... Okay, Jess. The only Adam Sandler film I can think of that's been on Netflix was called Murder Mystery, but he's not a jeweler in that. He's a cop.
I think I
It's not
remember
Murder
an
Mystery.
Adam Sandler, like a serious Adam Sandler movie coming out recently, but I don't know what it's
Yeah.
called.
He's
I feel
obviously
like I'm gonna
serious
say
reason.
the name and everyone's gonna be, oh, that movie.
Probably.
That one with Adam
Yeah.
Sandler. I'm not. I want someone to guess it, so I'm gonna keep giving hints.
I've given you
God.
2 guesses.
Uh,
I've got nothing.
in the name of the film has something to do with valuable stones that have not yet been severed.
Jess!
Yeah, Jess.
Rough Diamonds?
No,
Ah,
it's not Rough Diamonds. Oh my god. Jeez.
Oh, Jess, can I guess again?
Yeah, go for it. Honestly, at this
Uncut
point,
Gems?
It's Uncut Gems.
I've
I didn't
never
know that was an Adam
heard of
Sandler
that.
film.
I have never heard of it.
Really? Oh
Yeah, I've never
wow.
heard of it.
I thought that was on everybody's radar for a very long time.
I think we've realised, Ben, that everyone else's taste in films and TV is maybe different to yours.
Yeah,
It's maybe your
It is
taste
true.
is similar to Danny's.
maybe.
don't know.
I think what I was looking for was very popular, generally popular films and TV shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys just aren't. You guys aren't normal. You guys
We're
are.
all nerds.
You're all special.
Oh, we know that.
We're a unique bunch in the pop culture
It's
club.
like there was a wild smattering of there was animated TV shows, there was a Ghibli film, there was an Adam Sandler serious film, there was
Yeah.
high budget. There was a lot
That
of
was
things.
my goal.
There was a lot of.
I tried to cram as much as possible into 12 questions. And I feel like I did a pretty good job. But in the end, the final scores were Brie, 1/2 a point, Danny, 2.5 points, and tied for first place, Jess and Becky. Congratulations.
Woo!
Did not expect to tie for first.
Okay, so how are we
get
doing this?
last.
Because generally, the thing we've been going with, well, I've been going with, is that the winner of the quiz wins the illustrious prize of giving their pop culture recommendation first. So do Becky and I have to talk over each other?
That's how it's going. It's going to be super
Rock, paper,
good
scissors,
for
except
the
no one can see it.
podcast.
Jess, you do it first. Definitely not because I don't have my recommendation ready and have to think on the fly.
Alright.
That'd be crazy. Us being not prepared for a podcast? It's wild. Alright, so I guess we'll officially start our pop culture recommendations then. Jess, take it away.
Well, thank you all, and it's truly an honour to be here. So... Okay, my recommendation is... It's something I mentioned earlier. It's The Expanse, the TV series on Amazon Prime. The reason I'm recommending it now is because the teaser trailer for the 6th and final season was just released, yesterday or so. And so I thought, alright, good time, get caught up on the previous 5, or just start watching it, because it's in the thing again, and it's finishing. I like it because it's cool. It's basically... People have described it as like Game of Thrones, but in space. But I can't speak to that because I've never watched Game of Thrones and I'm not going to. So, it's good. It's very good sort of geopolitical thriller that's also action and is also drama and is it's... I'll say it's
hard sci-fi.
It's hard sci-fi, which means basically it follows the laws of physics. There are no warp drives. There are no anti-gravity plating. There's no like all the ships look like skyscrapers basically, because their engine's at the bottom and everything else is on top.
Yeah.
And I love them. The Expanse, honestly, it has my favorite. Well, specifically the Martian Navy in it has the best aesthetic, the best military aesthetic I have ever seen. I love it. I literally there is not a ship that is the Martian ship that I don't love the look of. It is, and they work. They're functional. They make sense, and also has very good queer representation. Very good. It's casual. It's it's an interesting thing where it's because it's set 500 years in the future. Is that it's not the queer representation isn't as explicit as you'd expect in maybe a modern good queer rep series, but it basically treats everyone as it treats everyone's sexuality as ambiguous. I don't think it ever explicitly says anyone's sexuality basically. But I love The Expanse.
That sounds rad.
And I can't wait to see
Yeah.
the last season is coming out in December, and I can't wait.
So would you say the main points are the sci-fi elements, or would you say it's more the relationships between the characters?
I would say
the way you
it's
describe
sort of...
it is it's very intrinsically the character development is the big plot.
It is the thing is it's with a big show like that. It's it is a lot of things to a lot of people. There are cool space battles, there's cool, political intrigue, there's cool, there's mysteries.
So it's just a mixed bag of cool shit.
Basically, yeah, it is, the most recent season, I can't think of a bad point in it. It's all good. I like it all.
And where can people watch that, actually?
That is on Amazon Prime Video.
Okay.
The entire thing.
Hell yeah.
There are 5 seasons currently. Next one, the final one's coming out in December.
Awesome. Becky, you also won the game. So would you like
I
to
did.
go next?
So my recommendation that I didn't just come up with
Totally.
is I guess kind of two things: Undertale and Deltarune, which are both
Mm.
lovely
good.
RPGs where no one has to die. It has
That's
a very
rare.
unique, yes, it has a very unique combat system where it's basically a mini bullet hell on your end where you have to dodge the enemy's attacks. And then on your turn, you get to choose to either attack them or do actions to kind of appease them and end the fight peacefully. And there's the first game, Undertale, and then the sequel, which is weirdly connected to the first game, but technically in a separate universe, called Deltarune, that has Chapter 1 and 2 released so far for free. Undertale is paid. Deltarune, you can get the first two chapters for free right now. It's available on PC, and I think Undertale is on the Switch. And yes, highly recommended. The characters are great. I love the characters. It's adorable. It's gay. Great.
Awesome. Yeah, I played Undertale, I think, basically when it came out, and I found it super unique and really endearing, like in the art style and the multiple options you were given in the story. I won't give anything away, but based on your actions, things might turn out a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And it can be very meta as well in parts. So
Yeah.
a lot to look forward to. Definitely would recommend if you haven't given it a shot.
What about you, Ben?
Ooh. Yeah, hell yeah. So, if you guys have listened to the podcasts I've been on previously, you'll know that I each time recommend a spooky movie. And given that Halloween at the time of release at the time of this podcast release, that is going to be in a few days, I think it's apt that I stick with that theme. And I've been tossing up with this recommendation between two films, so I might just really quickly go over both. The first one is called I Saw the Devil, and it's a Korean film, and it's basically what you would get if you mixed John Wick with Tom and Jerry. And like made it 10 times more fucked up.
Wow.
It's so wild. I won't give too much away, but it's about someone gets murdered and someone doesn't like that, so they do a big revenge, and it's very much like a cat and mouse game of this psychopath and this like very righteous kind of anti-hero character, and it's not really a horror, more of a action thriller, but I think it still fits in with the theme of spooky season, so I would definitely give it a watch. If you're not into subtitles, then you're a little bit out of luck, but I think especially if you've run out of Squid Game and you're just aching for more Korean wild shit, definitely give it a go. And the second movie I wanted to recommend, around a similar kind of vein, is called The Audition, and this one's a Japanese horror movie. It's about, I think it's maybe set in the 80s or 90s, I can't exactly remember, but a businessman essentially sets up this fake audition under the guise of finding an actor for a commercial. He tries to find a woman to date. Obviously, this is before the time of dating apps, and so this is, I guess, the best he could do, which is a really weird kind of misleading situation he's put these women in, but he ends up finding a woman who intrigues him, I guess, and they start a relationship, and slowly he finds out that this woman, there's more to this woman than meets the eye, and it's very much a slow burn movie till the finale, but it gets wild, and I would definitely not recommend this if you're squeamish and don't like all that icky business that comes with horror. But yes, it's a very good time, very spooky if you want to sit down and just squirm for 2 hours. And again, subtitles, so if you're not into it, give it a miss, but big recommend.
What about you, Brie?
Yeah, so I just last minute changed what I wanted to get, but so my recommendation is this book by the ex-YouTuber, Daniel Howe. He recently came out as gay in last few years. He was one of those YouTubers who was posting like way back in the day and gained quite a lot of popularity, but then disappeared for a while for some personal reasons and things like that. But he came out with a book called You Will Get Through This Night, which is created as like a practical mental health guide, which basically breaks down like different ways to kind of understand your thinking and ways of going about changing that, based on whether it's just to get through this night, so just to get through now, or looking into the future, and kind of breaking it down, but also with like little sprinkles of his humor and his experiences as well. So you don't have to know who he is to enjoy the book, but if you do know who he is, there's a lot of little things in there that'll remind you of like old videos and things he's done.
Like inside
Yeah.
jokes and all of that.
Yeah, so You Will Get Through This Night by Daniel Howe, I definitely recommend.
Hell yeah. So would you say it's more of a story or more along the lines of like a self-help kind of situation?
It's set as like a self-help, but there is like this kind of overarching progression through the story, but through the book. But yeah, it's definitely more of a like help book, self-help guide book. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I think we've not had super like heaps of book recommendations for the podcast, so that's really good. I like a bit of variety in my podcasts. Gives it flavor. Danny. Last but not least.
So I'm recommending The Owl House, which is on Disney Plus, and it follows a teenage girl who gets kicked out of school and is supposed to go to summer camp or something similar to it, and she ends up going through a portal to this world where everyone hates humans and there's demons and witches, and she ends up staying there. She meets someone that she stays with, and there's a witch school there that she wants to attend. It's very colourful, it's really fun to watch, and there's a cute little animal called a king who is supposed to be this ferocious demon,
Demons.
and he is the smallest, cutest thing I've ever seen in an animated series.
Yeah, it's such a
I've
good
heard.
show. I've seen it.
I've heard lots of good things, and also
Same.
I've heard that it's very big on the queer representation as well, which fits nicely with our theme.
I haven't seen, there's nothing specifically queer just yet. It does fall
Oh.
into like someone's being kicked out of society and they're trying to like find where they fit. There's definitely a bit of that, but no direct queerness, I would say, in it. But you can certainly
watch
relate to it.
Watch season 2.
Is season 2 out?
It's not available on the Australian Netflix, but not Netflix, Disney Plus, but it is available in some other countries if you have a fancy thing called a VPN.
Okay, so maybe
And are you
that.
saying, Brie, that element comes into play a little bit? Okay, if it means spoilers, feel free to just
For
not say anything.
for season 1, they definitely left it open. So
I
it
see.
feels like there is going to be something in the second season, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I see. Oh, good.
All right, so I think that's all the recommendations. That'll bring us
Oh yeah.
to the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm just going to plug this again. So if you search the Swinburne Pop Culture Club on Instagram or Facebook, and potentially LinkedIn very soon, you'll find a link tree, and if you click on that, you can find our Discord and links to all of our other social media. So please follow us on that, and there should be a link to our YouTube, which you might already be on. So thank you for listening, and I hope you listen next time. Bye.
Like and subscribe.
Bye,
Oh, yeah.
everybody. Oh, yeah. Like, smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Hit
Ding that bell.
Subscribe. Ding the bell.
Bye, everyone.
I don't know what that does. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.